Welcome back. I'm Eric Sepanek. This is John Karow. This is the Gold Spot. Well, we're in April, tax season. Things are moving very sharply in the gold and silver and all precious metals. It's very interesting because we have come to realize that it's not really the American or the European markets that are pushing the metal markets right now. It's somebody else. And John, maybe you can elaborate and help us understand what's going on.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. China is influencing the gold market. China is buying gold hand over fist. Just the first quarter of this year, they bought 22 tons of gold. The geopolitical uproar in the world is affecting prices. People are coming into the market. But the real issue for me is what's going on with the BRICS people. Because they have a meeting in October 24th, and I took a look at their holdings that they've reported, probably underreported though. The BRICS nations, there's 10 of them holding gold, and right now they're reporting 6,469 tons of gold that they owe.
And that's collectively.
Collectively.
Okay, so help us understand. America, we've always been known as the biggest holders of gold. So where does that fall in relation to the American holdings at this time?
Well, our numbers reported are 8,133 tons of gold. And that's been a steady number for a long time. We never seem to buy any gold. My concern is that BRICS is getting very close to our total holding. And if they can learn to work together and they keep buying gold at the rate they've been buying gold, we're going to get at a point where they're going to say, hey, we have as much gold as the USA. We want to control the price of goods and services. We want to set the reserve currency. We want to set the price of gold. And they have that October meeting, and they're getting very, very close, particularly since that 6,469, I believe, is underreported.
So I think things to kind of also remind that not all of our viewers know exactly what the BRICS nations are. So maybe you could tell us exactly what the BRICS nations are and what is their goal ultimately, and why does gold make sense for those nations to hold right now?
The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Iran now, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and believe it or not, Ethiopia. Ethiopia's in there because they have 500 tons of gold in the ground that hasn't been mined yet. They want to break away from the reserve dollar. They've been complaining about the weaponization of the dollar for a long time, and they're starting to push back at the neighborhood bully, which is us. And my concern is if they ever get their act together and act as one unit, they can do that. Their concerns financially are their money isn't backed by anything. And one bad harvest in an agricultural country and their currency will collapse. So this is a move to stabilize their economies, and we're not doing anything to protect ourselves.
And to really think about it, if you have a reserve currency that you're going to try to rival the dollar, the almighty dollar, the way that the dollar originally became the reserve currency of the world was during the Bretton Woods Act. And that's because we had more gold than anybody else. And that's what made other nations agree to make us, in fact, that absolute super currency, if you would. Now, with that being said, we went off the gold standard in 1971, but then we were backing ourselves with Saudi Arabia, saying that they would trade nothing but petro in US dollars. But now we're having trouble with Saudi Arabia with the current administration, and the green, it's really this huge green initiative that's really creating bigger and bigger problems for ourselves that are not just something that's trying to change the way that we drive cars or something like that, but the natural resources and all the implementation of or the pushback on oil is making some of our partners in the Middle East very unhappy with us.
What you're seeing is governments interfering with the free market. And BRICS is a reaction to that. They're filling a vacuum. They're not doing green initiative. They're protecting themselves, and we just keep doing the same thing over and over, and we're going to pay the price.
Another little fact that I think that people might want to think about, why is gold moving so quickly? Well, obviously, like we're talking about China, but why are they so concerned about the dollar? From 1776 all the way until the year of 2004, so 228 years, of time. It took us that long to accumulate $7 trillion in debt. Today, every 100 days, we're creating over $1 trillion in debt. We have hit this point where it's like the pot is boiling over. And I think everything that we are talking about right now and that you're describing is one of the main concerns for these other nations. And they're just trying to make sure that if our ship starts to sink, that they don't go down with it.
And they're not being unreasonable. We're adding $1 trillion in debt every 90 days to our debt.
And with absolutely, if you think about it, the one thing I've always said that's bipartisan, Republicans and Democrats, is spending money. Also, we're going to have some interesting IRA information for you coming up so that you can, if you get those contributions in, we have a little extra incentive for you to do so, and you have a few more days to do it. So I highly suggest you give us a call and get that done. John, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll see you next week. If you enjoyed today's Gold Spot, like or subscribe to both our YouTube or our Rumble channels. Also, comment below if you have any questions or if you want to hear us talk about something specific in a future video.